Hello, I'm Chelsea Fry with Motor Age Magazine. The right pay plan can empower your employees to improve their own performance and take ownership of the success of the business at the same time. David Rogers, the Chief Operating Officer of Keller Brothers, Inc., and President of Auto Profit Masters, is with us today to talk about how you can build a culture of success in your shop by improving morale and increasing sales with an incentive-based pay plan. David, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So how does a good incentive-based pay plan lead to increased sales?
This concept's been taught by many people. But people tend to walk around with a sign on their forehead that says WIIFM. What's in it for me? What do I get out of this? You know, if you're trying to improve your auto repair shop, it might be your gross profit that's a problem. It might be your inspection process that's a problem. Can you answer that question? If your answer for WIIFM, if what's in it for me to your employees is, well, it's to make our shop better, or it's so that we'll succeed, or because you'll continue to have a job. Okay, you're basically inviting them to do the bare minimum to keep their job. And I think the second you turn away in a situation like that, things are going to revert to the way they were. I always tell clients, you can go in a room and you can force a bunch of monkeys to dance around and do flips and tricks with a stick. But the minute you walk away or turn your back or put that stick down, the dancing stops, okay? And then they start throwing stuff. So, if your answer changes and you take a better approach and say, because I'm going to give you a piece of our growth, now you're going to have employees that are going to see right away that it's worth it to buy into what you're doing. That's why incentive pay plans work. If you were to incentivize your service riders to manage your gross profit, if you give them the tools to manage that profit and the authority to hit a benchmark, they're going to increase your sales or your parts profits to hit that benchmark, depending on how you build that incentive. And I want to stop here for a minute before I give you any more secrets. Something really important, and I'm going to go over a list of these at the end of our discussion, if you'll let me. But there's some warnings here, because you can make a mistake that'll cost you everything. So when you're trying to build these programs, it's really important you go through our list of warnings. Really make sure that you're going through those steps, okay? Now, let's talk about billing hours and technicians. A lot of people think, well, the only factor I can do to improve that is to put the techs on a flat rate program. Certainly, that is a very good idea, hint. But I will also tell you that you've got to incentivize them for the way they bill hours. You've got to give them the tools to see how good inspections are going to lead to more hours, the ability to hit their goals, and they're going to create those sales for you. I've yet to meet a shop that couldn't do more than they thought they could handle once the systems and the right pay plans were in place. It does go beyond that. Every shop has a pipeline, and that pipeline runs from the street to the front counter, and then to the tech and the advisor and the follow-up, and it goes back again. When your service riders are incentivized to provide excellent customer service and your technicians are incentivized to do thorough inspections, they both have a vested interest in keeping that pipeline full. So trying to attack one end or the other or blame one end or the other never works. We've got to look at the whole of the situation. Instead of a technician not seeing the value in a thorough inspection, now they're going to see that work moving through. They're going to see that money traveling through that pipeline, okay, and that progress that it makes. They're going to be more confident in what you're telling them to do. Work that isn't done today will go back into the pipeline and flows right back to their bay. Things that they inspected that maybe weren't sold, okay? And so it's really important to track that work back through. However, you got to educate the employees about the benefits as well. Technicians need to see how inspections turn into bigger paychecks. They need to be able to measure that growth, and they need the processes and procedures to make a thorough inspection possible. Service writers need to understand that process and manage it. Plus, they have to understand why gross profit is important on those parts. How they can manage that. They need the tools to manage that profit daily as well as those labor hours and the authority to hit that target. And that's a word that makes most of us shop owners a little uncomfortable. But you must share that authority in the same way we want them to share in the responsibility for achieving the goal. Otherwise, what we do is we give them a directive and then we are disappointed and then we continue to replace employees over and over again. If you've got that pattern in your shop, this might be the secret. You can lose everything when you make a minor mistake designing a pay plan. And that is the quicksand that we want to talk about. You can ruin the teamwork environment. You can make it very cutthroat. You can reward lazy people if you make the wrong mistake. Sometimes we think of in team, we're going to do a team goal. Well, team goals only work when everyone on the team is held accountable in the first place. And so you got to understand that measurements and things are really key to making a pay plan work. And you have to constantly keep measuring the results, and you may need to make some adjustments as you go. A couple other things we've seen, you need to set limits on things. If you set a pay plan out, you've got to project out every possible aspect. What happens if you end up with 5 service riders instead of just 2? What happens if you end up with 6 techs even though you only have 3 today? A year and a half from now, you end up with 6. You're paying the service riders a certain way. You can have a terrible problem, a terrible problem. We've had a client who made a terrible mistake, a graven mistake, and ended up overpaying his service riders to the tune of about $250,000 a piece, while he took about $30,000 that year as an owner. So it's no joke. This is really serious, the warnings. And a couple other things is that you got to understand that every single shop requires a different picture, and each employee in the shop needs a particular plan. Okay, there is no cookie cutter approach. If you talk to someone and they're doing cookie cutter pay plans, I highly recommend that you consider not proceeding with that. That's where we fall into some of the problems that I'm talking about. But when you do it right, an incentive-based pay plan will do 3 things for you. It's going to train them to act exactly the way you want them to act. It's going to hold them accountable, and it's going to motivate them to grow your business.
And now that you've discussed, different risks and things to look out for with these pay plans, how can an incentive-based pay plan boost morale within the shop?
Absolutely. The pay plan can motivate them to keep growing, improving, and trying harder. With an incentive-based pay plan, they know if they're winning or losing every day. They have a huge motivation to win. They can go wrong quickly if there are too many hoops to jump through, too many conditions to meet, too many factors that make it impossible to understand. The pay plan then becomes a disincentive. In tough times, the tech will become discouraged knowing they'll lose that day or week. So the best pay plans give every employee an opportunity to win, even during those tough times. This means you need to set your goals to be achievable. If they're not attainable, people aren't going to play along, and this just becomes another list of things that they're going to resent you for. At Keller Brothers, we set our goals every day in what we call our 10-minute meeting. We gather as a team, we commit to focus for the shop for that day, and we also set goals individually. Each person commits to a new goal and has a target to hit for this day. They also get to reflect on the day before, whether they hit or miss their goal, and you can set a higher goal or discuss how to fix anything that prevented them from reaching it the day before. Every employee has to find new ways to beat their personal best. It also lets everyone on the team internalize the success of the shop. Every employee gets to take ownership of every win and every loss. And when one person wins, everybody wins because the shop wins. It's how you build that culture of success. This would pretty much conclude my concerns and warnings for pay plans. But again, don't be afraid to work with it, project it out. And a final suggestion might be possibly consider running it as a trial with your employees. Say, we'd like to try a new pay arrangement for the next quarter. And that might give you the out you need if you make a mistake designing the plan or you don't want to come to someone like us to help you.
Thank you so much for your insight, David. The beauty of an incentive-based pay plan is that it compels each individual to find new ways to beat their personal best. The success of the shop is no longer a looming, uncontrollable factor, but an attainable personal goal. Hopefully, David's advice on having an effective incentive-based pay plan will encourage you to assess your current plan for shop success. To learn more, you can reach out to David via email at contact@autoprofitmasters.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.